Hi everybody, I'm Bill Sharp, St. Andrews class of 68, and welcome to the Rocks and Razorbacks podcast. Here, we feature conversations with remarkable alumni, teachers, and administrators from both Middleton and St. Andrews high schools. This is a great way to share meaningful stories and keep our memories alive of growing up in West Ashland. Now for today's show.
You may remember Jim Atkinson as a great teacher, a tough winning coach, or an administrator that always put his students first. A longtime Middleton figure in the 70s and 80s, Coach Atkinson later became principal at Orange Grove Elementary and at St. Andrews Parish High School. Neal and I invited Coach to meet us at Old Middleton for an interview, and my fellow class of 79 buddy Mike Wiggins, who played for Atkinson's JV basketball team by the way, he came along to hear and share memories along with us. So Coach Atkinson, thank you so much for being here with us today.
Tim, it's my pleasure. It's always great to be back at Middleton High School.
Well, let's jump right into it. You're here in the halls of Old Middleton, and when you walked in, checked in, and now here we are. What kind of feelings do you have?
Brings back a lot of warm memories. This was a very special place for thousands of students and teachers, parents. This West Ashland community. This was a great school.
You meant so much to so many students here. How do you like to remember your job, your assignments, your position through the years?
I think it was all about relationships. Someone said that people don't remember how much you know. They remember, the relationship that you had. Yeah, how you felt. I wasn't the smartest teacher in the building for sure. My former students would tell you that in a hurry. But we had a lot of fun in the classroom, and I think everybody learned a lot, and it was a microcosm of what was going on in the 70s and early 80s back then. It was a good time to be in school. Students were great. Again, this was St. Andrews and Middleton both were great schools, so it was good to be a part of it.
Excellent. Hey, let's go ahead and go backwards now a little bit. And you are in high school, you're in college, and somewhere along the way you got the bug to be into the school system. And what were you thinking, and how did you land your first position? Well,
when I arrived at the Citadel, I played high school sports and had loved it and had good coaches and outstanding coaches, and they certainly meant a lot to me and left a mark on me. When I got to the Citadel, they asked me what my major was going to be, and I didn't have a clue. So my dad had told me, you need to go to the Citadel and get an education. So I looked down and saw education, and that's what I signed up for. Lo and behold, I ended up becoming a teacher. I didn't know, when I was 18 years old that was what I was signing up for, but it was great because I became a teacher, and I loved athletics and coaching, and I was being young and single. A lot of times you're asked to coach sports other than what you're real good at. So I ended up coaching a number of different sports. I coached girls track. I coached tennis. Everybody on the tennis team could beat me. Everybody on the girls track team could run faster than I could. Of course, I coached basketball and a little bit of football. It was a dream come true for a young person right out of college, to be completely involved in so many aspects of the school. It was really enjoyable.
By the way, I got my buddies, Mike Wiggins, of course, Neal right here. And one big question I learned recently is you actually played ball for the Citadel?
I did. There aren't a lot of records of back when I played, and that's really a good thing. Because I warmed the bench and didn't play a whole lot, but I enjoyed it. And when I graduated, my coach then was a guy named Les Robinson, who stayed at the Citadel. Legendary, just an outstanding coach. And he talked to Jerry Waters. Jerry had an opening here in basketball, and my coach in college talked to him. And again, when I came and met with Jerry, I was offered the job here at Middleton, and I had 2 interviews right out of college, and the first one they asked me about my experience. I had no experience, and of course, when I told the principal that, that didn't impress him a whole lot, so I ended up not getting that job, and I came for my second job. And when I met Mr. German, who was the principal then, he didn't ask me what my teaching certificate was in, and we didn't talk about what I'd be teaching. So I was hired as a basketball coach, because basketball was big at Middleton at the time, if you can remember.
What year was this?
I was back in 1973.
Okay.
1973, summer of '73. And ended up teaching social studies. I had a major in social studies, major in education, I guess minor in social studies and psychology. But I did come in and ask for some books, so I got some textbooks, and I stayed about a week ahead of my students, so it was all good.
Coach Atkinson, as we all knew him, I always say as a student back in the late 70s, what an impact all teachers made, and coaches made a huge impact. Taught me a lot about life and determination, and I'm really appreciative. I get a little emotional, I'm sorry about that, but it just taught me a lot about never giving up and being committed. So thank you for what you meant.
My pleasure, Mike. I probably learned as much from you guys as you learned from me. Again, it was personal relationships. We were a team. We were a team on the court. We were a team in the classroom. We learned about getting along with each other. We learned not to harass each other. We didn't put up with bullying. We really got along well, and I think that takes you on out into the workplace and into life and into your life as a member of a family. You're a unit, you're a team, and you got to work together to make it go. And that's I guess one of my biggest memories is people getting along with each other, working together, for a certain goal. In the classroom, sometimes some students wanted an A, and some students just wanted to get by. But we worked together, and we got along, and we reached our goals in the classroom, and I think that has a lot to do with your, having goals as an adult, and working hard to achieve those goals. So.
One thing I find really interesting is the teachers were so young, and the coaches were so young, and Middleton branched off from St. Andrews, a highly successful high school in the state in many, many ways, and then here we go, you and Coach Waters and Olson and Leonard and Coach Davis, just like some young guns that really somehow the chemistry, I think, somehow happened.
Well, we were fortunate when we came. There were about 23 of us that were first or second year teachers that came into Middleton. 23, I think there were 23 of us. Well, that was a change agent in itself. And of course, we were learning. We were young. We wanted to prove ourselves. But we had a solid cadre of teachers that were already here. Teachers, who were experts in their field. Teachers who took us under their wings and worked as mentors. People like Edie Gregg and Mildred Almond, Johnny Harvey, Faye Fruit, just so many. I could just name.
That's the problem with naming names.
Yeah, Ms. Rast.
Many.
So many. And of course, our administration here, Mr. German was principal, and Dan Curry was the assistant principal. And when I came in, Gary Leonard moved out of my spot in room 204, and he moved into administration as an assistant principal. So again, Gary was still young and had lots of energy and enthusiasm, and Dan Curry was solid. Dan had played on that Southern Conference 1962 football team for the Citadel, and Dan and discipline were two words that went together. Students enjoyed being students, but students also knew how far they could push things, because we had strong disciplinarians, and they communicated to the student body their expectations. And I think when expectations are clear, students students try to achieve their goals and stay within those expectations. So that was good.
Right. Yeah, Coach Davis was big on the leadership being so influential on doing your best, and then also outside programs besides just classrooms. And trust me, I hear it from so many ex-basketball players that are just so thankful we're telling this story, and Coach Waters and yourself just meant so much to so many of those young men.
Coach Waters, of course, is no longer with us. He's up there teaching folks to play in heaven, but he was a strong disciplinarian, and he was a good mentor for me. And I learned more about defense from him than I learned the entire time I was in high school and college. So that tells you about the defense that he taught. He always said that students, that athletes are going to get their points. I mean, that's what, every athlete wants to score. Nobody wants to play defense, but when you play defense and you do it well, it becomes a turnover, and then it becomes instant offense. And we had great teams. We had some great athletes, and Jerry was a great coach. Gary Leonard was an excellent coach. I fell right in behind those guys, and I learned from them. But we had really good athletes. Skilled athletes. They had played the parks over on Playground Road was just a top program. So many of the young people in the West Ashley area played over there on those parks and playgrounds. Anyway, those guys developed their skills, and we had good athletes coming in. I remember one of the hardest parts of my job was cutting people. You only had so many uniforms, and we had some really good athletes that we had to cut. They had learned their skills, and they had become adept at playing, and it was really tough on coaches and parents when we had to cut students who were really good athletes. So we had the cream of the crop when we began to play our season games.
It's the problem when you have a top program.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, a lot of talented folks don't make the bench.
And when teams are successful, everybody wants to be a part of that. So the young people coming up, 7th and 8th and 9th graders, they're watching that, and they're practicing hard so they can become a part of that program. So it's a good thing.
So for a while you taught social studies, and then JV head coach, varsity assistant coach, and then how did things develop for that? I know Coach Waters moved on.
Coach Waters left after 8 years, and I, again, he went first to Swanee, I guess Tennessee, and he had outstanding teams there, and of course then he went on to coach at USC Spartanburg, and of course people in the area remember the games, great games between USC Spartanburg, Coach Kress and the College of Charleston, and of course Jerry wins the national championship, NAIA national championship, and then Coach Kress, I think the following year, he wins the NAIA championship. Great coaches. Anyway, I took over for Jerry, and he took a lot of his players on with him to Sewanee and to USC Spartanburg. But I took over for 3 years. The last year, I was an assistant principal and basketball coach, which is really a tough job. I remember one of my students telling me at a recent reunion, Keith Silver, Keith says, "Coach, you didn't have to paddle me. We had practice that afternoon. And what I did wasn't really that bad. And you told me to bend over, and you gave me 3 licks, and it really hurt." And this is, 40 years later, Keith's telling me about this at a reunion. And it was right. I had to go over there that afternoon and coach him, and him not be too mad at me or too angry at me. So there was a little bit of a conflict of interest when you're trying to coach the athletes that you have to discipline during school hours. So sorry about that, Keith.
Oh, that's awesome. I know he follows the documentaries and the podcasts. That's great. That's great. You mentioned to us when we had lunch many months ago about being at the reunions and people coming up and approaching you
Yeah, I enjoy going to the reunions and seeing what students have done over the years, what they've accomplished, and hearing about their families and hearing about their successes and even sometimes hearing about the difficult times they've had. It's another opportunity to reconnect with your former students over good food and good drink. So it's a good thing, and I love being invited. Yeah, at one reunion, I had a former student that was about 6'4" come up to me, and he got right in my face, and he seemed really angry, and he said, "You're the only man besides my dad to ever beat my ASS." And then he gave me a big bear hug, because I think he realizes that it was not personal, that discipline was handed out back then. Whether, a lot of times you'd give a student a choice of going home or getting a paddling, and they'd say, "Please paddle me, just don't call my dad, or please don't call my mom, paddle me and let's get this thing over with." And a lot of times I'd say, "Well, I'm going to do that this time. I'm going to do you this favor this time. But if you come back to my office, I'm going to call your dad." And usually they didn't come back.
Jim, I'll say I remember in practice like it was yesterday. Coach had said, "Okay, this is what I need you to do. I need you to box out." Showed me how to do it. Ran the play. Didn't even come close to doing what he asked me to do. He got in my face, said a few choice words, all to motivate me, and he did. He motivated me. We had to work hard, but it was all good for us. It was really a time.
It wasn't personal.
It wasn't personal
No.
at all.
Wasn't it amazing? All the years have gone by. What, 40? I mean, this is incredible. The memories we have.
Just like yesterday.
And it helps shape us as men. And,
Absolutely.
And I think this is one big reason to do this is to try to keep these memories alive. The legacy of some incredible people that helped shape who we are. So Coach, Middleton won 3 state championships back in the 70s, and you had a hand in 2 or 3?
In a couple of them.
Couple of them. Okay, what
Yeah.
was it like being in the huddle with Waters and those incredible players?
Jerry had a fiery temper. He could get upset very quickly, and there were times when I'd be pulling on his shirt tails to calm him down. But what a super strategist, so knowledgeable and such a motivator. He could look a kid in the eye and tell them exactly what he wanted them to do, and they would go out and do it. I mean they would do it. We won some games in the last few minutes of contests that we probably shouldn't have won, but those players believed in him and in the system that we had, and when they were told to do something, they just did it. I mean, it just because we had practiced it umpteen times. We'd practiced it over and over and over. So it came as second nature. But a lot of teams lose in the last minute or two of a ball game because they don't execute. If you're watching college games or high school games today, games are lost in the last few minutes of games, and I think that's where we really excelled. And again, we had great athletes who listened and who, we could mold them, we could teach them. They were very teachable, and they liked winning, and so and we liked winning. And Jerry, talk about a competitor. We'd have basketball games during lunchtime, and he'd play and I'd play. And I'd end up with bruises, on my side from Jerry pushing, because he was a little shorter than I was. Jerry'd push or elbow. I mean, he was rough, and he was probably 10 years older than I was at the time. But he was a real competitor, and kids pick up on that. Kids pick up on that when they see you competing. They see how aggressive you are. Then they tend to do the same thing. So, there are a lot of lessons learned at lunchtime. Watching us old-timers play. Coach Davis and different ones that would get out there.
Yeah, Coach Davis said people knew not to come in the paint when he was around.
Yeah.
Yep.
Funny story, he and I played against each other in high school. We didn't realize it until after we'd been teaching together for 2 or 3 years. He found an article with a picture of me shooting and him guarding me.
Wow.
And I think we won that game, by the way. I really think we did, even if we didn't. Even if we didn't, I think we won that game.
That's important.
And Rusty's not around to say anything different.
I don't know. He'll head down from Ravenel. And,
Yeah, he'll come out from Ravenel, that's for sure.
Right. Well, the drive to win means a lot, but communicating with young people is a very unique thing. Are there any stories on the championship runs that come to mind?
Well, we had William and then we had Marvin Dickerson that played on that same team, and Leroy Hicks and Mike Smith. Those were probably some of the best teams we had. But we had other young people waiting in the wings. Our JV teams went undefeated. I was coaching JV. We had undefeated JV teams several years. Those guys were ready to step in, and there were times when I would want one of those athletes to play for me another year, and Jerry said, no, he's moving up to varsity because he's ready. And he was, and he would, he became a great player on the varsity. But, again, the playground did a wonderful job in preparing those students. And coaches, those coaches were fathers in the West Ashley community who coached their kids. And they prepared them. A lot of times they were running the same offenses and defenses that we were running on the JV, and that the varsity was running. So they were learning the skills that were necessary to play varsity basketball, and so it was a good thing. We had those parents did so much to support us, and our PTA back then. We always won fair, school of the year at the fair. Jackie Rast and her students who did the cooking and the sewing. Our cheerleaders were the best. They would win, the competitions and
the singers here.
The singers here were unbelievable. Paige Kelly was just phenomenal. Eddie Sheely, the band director, our band and our chorus programs were unbelievable. They performed all over the state. Those students put on productions, Paige and Mildred Almond working together. Some of those productions were professional productions. I mean, they were phenomenal, and they'd be sold out for 2 or 3 nights in a row. Darius Rucker came along a little later, and Darius, I think he was like a junior when my last year at Middleton. Right. I remember Paige Kelly coming into the teacher's lounge saying, "I've got this young guy that he's unbelievable, but he just really drowns everybody out," which is a problem. You've got a guy that's so good, that's so great that he just overwhelms whatever they're doing. I mean, he's just fantastic, and I've run into Darius at some of the reunions, and he is just such an ambassador for the state of South Carolina, an ambassador for the University of South Carolina. And again, I tell people all the time, he's a Middleton graduate. Phenomenal guy, talented guy.
We're going to get him. He's one busy fellow. I think Neal was just saying he's formed a new group.
Yeah.
Yes.
How.
I saw that. Yeah.
We got to get him on his day off somehow.
Still working.
That's right.
Our goal was to trap. When the ball came this way or that way, we immediately trapped. And then we collapsed.
We won so many games, especially early in the season, because other teams had not practiced a press offense. So here we are pressing from day one, because we practiced not only our defense, but we've also practiced our press offense. So we beat a lot of people early on.
What I remember was on the turnover, you attack the basket, easy layup.
Oh, yeah.
And we did it over and over, I remember. Oh, yeah. What I remember about being in high school in 1975, desegregation had just come into play. And I remember our parents were a little uneasy with black schools and white schools coming together. To us, these were our classmates. On the basketball team, it was a mixture, and we were just people getting along with each other. I'm sure the administration had something to do with how we treated each other. But
again, I came here in 1973, right out of college, and that was right after integration. And people were scared of it. There were fights some places. People didn't get along. It took a while for that to happen. But here at Middleton, we didn't have those fights, and we didn't see that anger or that hostility. And I think it had a lot to do with the teachers and how they set up their classrooms and how they set their expectations. They treated everybody the same. There wasn't a black and white. We had kids from Korea. We had kids from Japan here. We did not have the friction that was taking place in a lot of other places. And again, maybe it wasn't the teachers. Maybe it was just students. Students came here. They worked together. They played together. They supported one another in athletics.
It was a great environment.
It was a great environment. It was a great place to work and to go to school.
So you were doing more than just basketball, right?
Yes.
And tell me more about that.
Yes, whatever season it was, and again, because I was young and single and had time, I ended up coaching football, and the other football coaches would tease me because I was the offensive coordinator and we had a defensive coordinator. I had two people coaching the entire JV. Nowadays, they have 8 or 10, 12 guys coaching a team that large. I had a clipboard with all our plays on it, and I didn't know much about football, but we had good athletes. I would look at my clipboard and I would call a play, number 3 or number 5 or number 7. And usually it worked because the players, we had taught them what to do on those particular plays. But there was no rhyme to reason to my play calling. I didn't have a clue what I was doing. But I think we won all but 1 or 2 games that year calling plays off of that clipboard. And I hate to say it, but I think some of those professional football coaches do the same thing. They don't know what they're doing, obviously. They're calling it off a play or off of an armband.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. I'm sure you get asked a lot to attend reunions, even for both schools. Can you tell me more about that?
I mean, I love being there. I love being a part of that. It's just really a chance to see and reconnect with people and talk with them and hear where they are, with their personal lives and in their businesses and in their retirement, even some of them nowadays. So as time goes by, I guess I really do look forward to those things. I really do.
How does it make you feel when someone comes up to you and tells you how much of an impact you had, but in reality it was 40 years ago or so, and maybe you can't quite recollect that?
Yeah, it's amazing. An incident can be so important in the life of a high school student. And with you dealing with hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of students, 1,000 students, it was just a moment in time. It was not. It didn't have a huge impact. It wasn't something that I would even remember. But to them, it was monumental, and that is really humbling. And when somebody talks about any of their teachers, I think all of us feel the same way about that. It's humbling to know that we might have made a difference in somebody's life or made a difference in somebody's moment, because that's what they really were. They were moments of interaction. We shared something I think that was really important. And again, that's why I think a lot of our former students at both St. Andrews and Middleton have such an affection for their schools, because it was a good experience. It was either a learning experience, or somebody took the time to listen to them, or some guidance counselor, Jody Davis, Mr. Royal. I mean, so many good guidance counselors. Somebody just had a chance to sit down and listen and maybe advise or ask the question, what might you have done differently? Oh, all of a sudden the light bulbs go off and you realize, yeah, I didn't have to slug that guy. I could have, we could have talked about it.
Especially in today's world.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
And I would say, the impact that teachers make is tremendous, but the compensation did match the impact is, it's kind of sad, but and I remind teachers all the time just how significant what you do and what you've done. It means so much.
Thanks for being here, Coach.
Thank you, Tim.
Speaking for many people, alumni, thank you. And
Great kids.
yeah,
Great kids.
yeah, you're certainly loved and cherished by so many.
I appreciate that, Tim. Appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for watching today's episode, and be on the lookout for additional episodes. If you'd like to be a guest or even a host in the Rocks and Razorbacks podcast, please let us know. We want the podcast to be the go-to place for cherished Middleton and St. Andrews memories. Don't forget, the Rocks and Razorbacks documentary geared for South Carolina ETV is in production, and we'd love your input and help with that as well. For now, go Rocks and, well, go Hogs. Well, you get it. Thanks.